When I was elected to Kidderminster Borough Council, I was by far the youngest member at the age of 27. And I was put on the committee of management of the County Council Youth Club, because it was the only one there was in Kidderminster, called the Worcester Cross Youth Club. The more often I went, the more disgusted and shocked I was at the standard and provision and the aspiration that reflected. I thought, well, this is a golden opportunity to do something about it. Boys and girls who we assembled to become the group that were going to be taken by my wife and I, 10 boys, 10 girls, always met at my house, which had been a so-called country club before I bought it. So it had a dance floor in the cellar, which was absolutely ideal for holding anything. And certainly when the pop world came along, many of the well-known names came and practiced there. I'd retire to my drawing room up above it, where I could hear the music at one filter above them. Great fun we had.
Charles, why do you interest yourself so deeply with the problems of the teenagers in your own home?
We had ATV come. Lionel Hamden, an ancient name of ATV.
How do you participate with them yourselves down in the cellar?
He came and did an article on this youth activity.
We just join in the dances and play the guitar. We always end up with a folk singing session. That's sort of one of our regular things, and it always goes down well.
Oh, did not say balance reckon and distrand.
Looking back, which I don't often do, we'd no experience. I just knew it had got to be. We went and visited, well, in particular, the then almost brand new Bowes Lyon Youth Centre at Stevenage. And they received us very well, and we learned a great deal from them, which we applied here. But the brief to our architects was, you've got to design a building that's capable of permanent change. So I invited all the high-ups to come here to discuss the situation. What I said to them was, after we'd gone through the courtesies, I said, well, now I've only got one thing to say to you. I want you to buy this place, and if you won't, I shall hold a press conference on the steps of County Hall 1 week before the elections in May. You've never seen eminent mouths drop open so wide in your life.
The future looked a little bit more difficult for the Trust to maintain provision of its own resources. He entered brilliantly into a negotiated agreement with the County Council that they would lease this building.
Charles had the initial idea and he did all the initial fundraising. When I got involved, we were leasing the building to the County Council. We were giving grants out every year to young people and organisations from the rental we were getting from the county. Of course, now we're not doing that because we're having to run the building ourselves.
So the responsibility for the provision of youth work transferred from the Trust to the County Council. And so I was more intimately involved after that and more aware of the provision, not so much about the building.
Through the 70s, the support from the county fell away because they had other fish to fry, that we were wondering every week how we were going to pay the cleaners. Because as long as the County Council was going to be the youth authority and provide all the money, they needed somewhere to do it. And we've been built for that very purpose.
Those of us who were trustees spent most of our time giving grants out.
The grants distribution derived from the fact that the County Council were leasing this building.
Very much as trustees in the past, we were much more involved in sort of funding other activities through the rent and everything.
The money that the Trust received from the County Council for the lease of this building, we determined that we could support young people and youth activities in Wild Forest.
Seeking funding from all sorts of places to keep our core work going and doing some outreach work.
We invited people to come along and submit a grant application to us. The trustees would sit down and consider that grant application and make a decision and give out some money.
I mean, it's a pain that because of austerity, the County Council has cut the positive activities funding overall, but we are still here. We are not making cuts in the services we give to young people.
It may be hard work creating something, boy oh boy, running it is a different story altogether.
The really fantastic support that the staff here give to young people. A lot of people think, oh, youth work, anybody can do that. It's a bit like anybody can do teaching, you know. And actually, young people need really skilled workers, and when young people are going through crises in their lives, you've actually got to have some highly skilled youth workers around, and that's what we've got here.
The building as you see it now, we've spent a lot of money on it. It's looking pretty good at the moment. The lift's in. That's been an ambition for donkey's years. The upstairs becomes much more available, especially to people who have a problem of any kind.
There are young people here with expressed needs that are being satisfied by the staff team here.
It started, if you like, as an act of faith. I don't know what youngsters from one generation to another do. I probably wouldn't even understand their language. But they've got to have somewhere to do it. And the more they're together, and heavens knows, when nowadays nobody seems to communicate by word of mouth, but only by electronic gadgets.
I think the needs of young people are probably a bit more complex these days.
We hear an awful lot about kids just spending their time in their bedrooms playing with iPads and Game Boys and whatever.
So we live in a much more speeded up world with instant communication, instant gratification often.
And I think that's actually it's a good thing to do, but it's a bad thing to have the only thing. I mean, you talk to youngsters who've got sort of about 150 friends on Facebook and actually no friend to go out with in the street.
Human communication is likely to change.
I would tell them to come in here and talk to Mike and Ben.
I suppose to share it with someone. Share it with someone you trust. Share it with someone who can help.
Come into the youth house. Nobody's going to be judgmental, and there'll be people here who will do their damnedest to try and help you sort yourself out.
Don't try and solve your own problems just yourself. Always ask somebody. Tell them you need help, whatever it might be. Problem shared, problem halved.
In a place like this, there are lots of people who fit that bill. Work through it. We all go through difficulties in our lives from one time to another.
Come in here, talk to the staff, they'll help you. They'll help you, and if you're prepared to make the effort yourself, they'll help you sort your lives out. And that's what good youth work's about.
Don't always do just what your peers do. Try and make your own mind up for you. Now that's always difficult and sometimes dangerous because people are terrified to stand out of line. It's easy to say it, very difficult often to carry it out, but always bear it in mind.